Shri Shri Radha Madhav ki jai, Shri Shri Radhanath ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and thank you for attending this morning program at Shri Shri Radha Radhanath. Today we are going to speak or read from the Nectar of Instruction, text 2, and a little of the purport by Srila Prabhupada. So text 2, Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janas sangascha loyam cha sadbir bhakti vinashyati. The translation: one's devotional service is spoilt when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically, associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, and being greedy for mundane achievements. And the purport by Srila Prabhupada. We are just going to read a certain portion of the purport pertaining to the topic today. The main problem confronting the conditioned souls is the repetition of birth, old age, disease, and death. In the material world, one has to work for the maintenance of the body and soul. But how can one perform such work in a way that is favorable for the execution of Krishna consciousness? Everyone requires possessions such as food grains, clothing, money, and other things necessary for the maintenance of the body. But one should not collect more than necessary for his actual basic needs. If this natural principle is followed, there will be no difficulty in maintaining the body. According to nature's arrangement, living entities lower on the evolutionary scale do not eat or collect more than necessary. Consequently, in the animal kingdom, there is generally no economic problem or scarcity of necessities. If a bag of rice is placed in a public place, birds will come to eat a few grains and go away. A human being, however, will take away the whole bag. He will eat all his stomach can hold and then keep the rest in storage. According to scriptures, this collecting of more than necessary, atyahara, is prohibited. Now the entire world is suffering because of it. Collecting and eating more than necessary also causes prayas, or unnecessary endeavor. By God's arrangement, anyone in any part of the world can live very peacefully if he has some land and a milk cow. There is no need for man to move from one place to another to earn a livelihood. For one can produce food grains locally and get milk from cows. That can solve all economic problems. Fortunately, man has been given higher intelligence for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness, or the understanding of God, one's relationship with Him, and the ultimate goal of life, love of God. Unfortunately, so-called civilized man, not caring for God realization, utilizes his intelligence to get more than necessary, and simply to eat to satisfy the tongue. By God's arrangement, there is sufficient scope for the production of milk and grains for human beings all over the world. But instead of using their higher intelligence to cultivate God consciousness, So-called intelligent men misuse their intelligence to produce many unnecessary and unwanted things. Thus, factories, slaughterhouses, brothels, and liquor shops are opened. If the people are advised not to collect too many goods, eat too much, or work unnecessarily to possess artificial amenities, they think they are being advised to return to a primitive way of life. Generally, people do not like to accept plain living and high thinking. This is their unfortunate position. Human life is meant for God realization, and the human being is given higher intelligence for this purpose. Those who believe that this higher intelligence is meant to attain a higher state should follow the instructions of the Vedic literatures. By taking such instruction from higher authorities, one can actually become situated in perfect knowledge and give real meaning to life. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ulmenitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitam Sacha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna to you devotees, and the topic today is thirst for the temporary, and it's based on prayas as of the nectar of instruction. So in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, he highlights all the sinful reactions that awaits people that perform sinful activities in the hellish planets. And it's very, very frightening. So Maharaj Parikshit, who Srila Sukadeva Goswami was relating the Srimad Bhagavatam to, he was a very, very compassionate soul. And he asked Srila Sukadeva Goswami, how can the living entities escape from these sinful reactions? Meaning, how can they escape from entering the hellish planets? So then Sukadeva Goswami says that with the relevant atonement, they are able to gain relief from their sinful reactions. So Maharaj Parikshit was not very satisfied with this answer, because he said that they may gain atonement through various activities, but the proclivity to sin will still remain. Now he gave the example of an elephant. An elephant goes into the river to take bath, and immediately when he comes out of the water, he sprinkles himself with sand again. So, like that, when we want to remove weeds from the garden, you will try and destroy it by burning it or removing it. But if the root remains within the ground, there is always the chance that the weed may grow once again. So in this way, people's proclivity to sin will still remain, and they could possibly end up back in the hellish planets. So he wanted a more satisfying answer. And then Srila Sukadev Goswami said to him that the best way is for the living entities to surrender to the Supreme Lord and to perform devotional service. So he said to perform devotional service and then go back home, back to Godhead. Right? So this is the goal of our life. Srila Prabhupada said that the goal of life should be to dance with Krishna and to eat with Krishna. So in other words, the goal of life is to go back home to the spiritual world and to personally associate with Krishna. Now, here in this material world, every activity that we perform has some sort of goal that we work towards. Now let's say most of us here are grihastas engaged in a full-time job. So what motivates us to go to work? What motivates us to go to work is the fact that at the end of the day or at the end of the month or the week, you are attaining a salary. And with that salary, you are able to provide for your loved ones, you are able to provide for your family, and it gives you the means to then engage in devotional service. Like let's say you buy a car and you come to service or you come to the temple to attend the Sunday morning service. So the goal is to attain the salary. Now let's say you have a difficult boss that doesn't appreciate you. Or maybe you have colleagues that backstab you or make your situation at work very challenging. Let's say you have customers that make your situation very challenging. But you are focused on your goal, and that is that at the end of the month or the end of the week, I am going to get this certain amount of money, and I am going to provide my family with this goal, with this money. So, like that, whatever happens on the side, like your colleagues or your customers or your boss, you ignore that and you are motivated towards this goal of attaining what you can to provide for your basic necessities. Now, I'll give you another scenario. Let's say the South African cricket team, the Proteas, are going to play in the World Cup tournament. And how does the coach motivate his team? What he would do is give them this vision that there is this World Cup that they're all playing towards. Literally the cup. And he would give them that vision that on the last day of the tournament, the final, you are holding this cup, meaning that you have won the tournament. So this vision of the team holding this cup is what drives them and motivates them to go forward with their practice, with their round-robin games and everything, until they reach the final. Now, in the same way, in the spiritual realm, we should have this goal, this vision in our mind, that I am in the spiritual world. I am dancing with Krishna. I am eating with Krishna. Like Srila Prabhupada had said, that the goal of life is to dance with Krishna and to eat with Krishna. So you must have that vision in your life that I am, at the end of this life, going to be in the spiritual world. And then you will perform those activities that will motivate you towards going back to the spiritual world. Make sense? So, here in the Nectar of Instruction, we are given these different instructions. Now, let's go back a little to Srila Sukadev Goswami and what he had said to Maharaj Parikshit. He said, perform devotional service and surrender to the Supreme Lord. Now, there are 9 processes of devotional service, and these are called the primary processes, which is, in Sanskrit, it's called mukhya. These are the 9 important processes, and they are Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. All these processes that begin with chanting, hearing, and remembering Lord Krishna. So, further to that, there are secondary processes called Gauna. And these processes are highlighted in this book called Nectar of Instruction. So the process that we are going to focus on today is prayas, or over-endeavor for mundane activity. Now, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned that everyone requires possessions such as food, grains, clothing, money, and other things necessary for the maintenance of the body. So, this is a necessity for all of us. But we should not be overzealous to attain more than what we require. It is our duty to perform these prescribed duties of maintaining your family and maintaining the loved ones that depend on you. Now, we even see in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjun was bewildered when he looked at the opposite side of all his opponents that were ready to fight. And he saw his brothers, his cousins, his grandfather, his uncles, and all of them were there, and he was bewildered. How can I fight all these people? So he said to Krishna, I cannot fight them. They are my relatives, they are my family members. And he gave so many reasons for not wanting to fight. And this led on to Lord Krishna speaking the Bhagavad Gita. And what was the first instruction that Krishna gave to Arjun? Is, you are a Kshatriya, perform your prescribed duties. Arjun wanted to go off into the forest and meditate, and Krishna said, no, you are a Kshatriya, you perform your prescribed duty, and your prescribed duty is to fight. Right? So in the same way, as Grihastas, many of us, we have duties to perform to maintain our families. But when one is overzealous and over-endeavors for material things, then this can spoil your spiritual life. It can spoil your spiritual activities. So, now let us look at one aspect is time. Now, time is an energy of the Lord. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Bahunam Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Hare Krishna. Lord Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyante Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. After many, many births, one has come to understand that Vasudeva is the Supreme Lord and surrenders unto him. And such a person is a very, very rare. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha is very rare. So, we have spent many, many lifetimes in this material world. And after so many lifetimes, we have come to this position to understand that the Supreme Lord is Krishna, and we surrender unto him and engage in his devotional service. So engage in his devotional service means spending most of your time. Yes, you are engaged in mundane material activities to provide for your family, but then the rest of your time you should spend it in spiritual activities. Now, I'll give you an example where Gaur Gopal Prabhu, he quotes one of his friends. And this person had fancied a car, a yellow Ferrari. And he spent many, many years trying to acquire this car. And eventually he was able to acquire enough Lakshmi to purchase this car. So then he phoned Gaur Gopal Prabhu and he says, Prabhuji, I am going to pick up my car tomorrow and I would like a sadhu to bless my car. So I would like you to come and place your lotus feet in my car before anybody else sits in it. So after some negotiation, Prabhu eventually agreed. So the next morning he picks Gaur Gopal Prabhu up from the temple and he takes him to the car dealership where he was going to fetch this car. And he insisted that, no, you sit in the car first because I want a sadhu's feet to be blessing my car. So eventually they sat in the car and they drove around to around Mumbai for about half an hour, and he dropped him off back at the temple. And then after a few weeks, Gaur Gopal Prabhu saw this person standing in the queue for a rickshaw, an auto rickshaw. Now in India, there are rickshaws and there are auto rickshaws, or we colloquially call it tuk-tuks. So this person was standing in the queue for an auto rickshaw. And then Prabhu asked him that, you standing in this queue, where's your car? And he said, no. Every time I drive this car and I park it somewhere, I have to worry about who's going to scratch my car. I have to worry about who's going to dent my car. If I park it and I'm up in a meeting, every half an hour I have to come down and see if my car is still in the parking spot. So he said, better I leave my car at home. It's safe at home, rather than me worrying about the safety of my car. So look at the futile effort that this person had went to make such an effort to gain money to buy this car, and now it is parked in his car, in his garage. So the point I'm trying to say is that he has wasted so much of his time, which could be otherwise engaged in devotional service. So the other thing is fear. When we tend to hoard, or when we tend to accumulate more than we necessarily need, it is a stumbling block for us. It is a stumbling block because at the time of death, Antakale chamam eva smaram muktava kalevaram. So ant is the end and kal is time. Antakale chamam eva. Mam, Krishna is saying me. Smaram, remember me at the time of death. Now if you've got this whole hoard that you've accumulated throughout your life, you think you're going to be thinking of Krishna? All you're going to be thinking of is who is going to spend my money, who is going to waste my money, are my children going to fight over it? These are the things that will impede one's spiritual life. And where you should be thinking of Krishna at the time of death, you will be thinking about all your material acquisitions. And what happens? You miss the boat. Then you are forced to come back and take another material birth. So these acquisitions are an impediment in our lives. And one more thing that we should understand is, what do we take when we leave our bodies? What do we take? all we take is our consciousness with us. So we need to try and spiritualize this consciousness as much as possible, so that in the next birth we get something more higher than what we have, and hopefully end up in the spiritual world. As we said, our goal is to focus on reaching the spiritual world. So if you spiritualize your consciousness, then automatically you will end up in the spiritual world. Now, one of the things that Srila Prabhupada mentions in this purport is the concept of simple living and high thinking. Now, he mentions that all you need for your economic activity, all you need is a small piece of land and one cow for milk. Now, most of us, you can resonate with that, especially during this pandemic. There was a flourish of market gardeners and vegetable gardeners, because they understood that there was this, we couldn't go to the shops, and the only other resource was your own garden. And those that produce in their own gardens, they know or they understand how joyful it is to produce something and then to come and offer it to Sri Sri Radha Radhanath. It's such a joyful experience. And this simple living, high thinking concept is something that if you engage in this, then you will see how nature herself helps you, how nature is programmed to help the living entities. Now, I'll give you an example. We are slowly edging towards winter. And what are the fruit that is available in abundance during winter? Anybody? What are the fruit that are available? Isn't it citrus fruit? Your lemons, your oranges, your nachis. Those are all that are available in abundance during winter. What is the characteristic of those fruit? They are very acidic, right? They are very acidic. Now, if we look at the vegetable that you plant during winter, what are the vegetables? If you go to the market, say from May, June, July, what is the vegetables that are in abundance? Your cabbages, your cauliflower, your broccolis. Those are all the vegetables that are in abundance during winter. And what is that characteristic? All ulcer sufferers and all arthritis sufferers would know this. Cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli are very acidic. So we have citrus fruit that's acidic in winter, and your vegetables that are acidic in winter. So how is this meant to help us? Very important. In winter, there is a lot of mucus. You know that winter is the season for coughs, colds, and flus. So in Ayurveda, that is termed kapha. Kapha in Ayurveda is a condition where you have a lot of mucus in your body. So counteract that with foods that are airy or acidic, like cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, your citrus fruit. So we see that in nature, nature is helping us, where in winter you've got this kapha situation, lots and lots of mucus. So then nature produces the vegetables to counteract that, to keep us healthy. So this simple understanding and simple living is what Srila Prabhupada propagated. And if you live that simple life and you don't endeavor to hoard more than what you require, you will slowly become more receptive to spiritual knowledge, and you will have more time to listen to lectures, and you'll have more time to chant, you'll have more time to perform all the spiritual sadhana that is required for you to make spiritual advancement. And we see that nowadays, with the pandemic and going forward, there is tons and tons of lectures that are available via the medias, through Facebook and through YouTube. So you have enough time then to listen to these lectures and spiritualize your consciousness. So this simple living and high thinking is a very important aspect of our spiritual life. So I'm going to relate to you another pastime. This also was related by Srila Gaur Gopal Prabhu. And he mentioned that once there was a man, a materialist, who was so focused on just attaining wealth. That's all he ever wanted to do, is just hoard and accumulate more and more and more. And his family were a little more pious than him. So they engaged a sadhu to come and, preach to this man. So this sadhu had tried all his preaching activities, and it wasn't working because this man was so focused on his material activities. So eventually, the sadhu decided, okay, let me take him to the holy places. Maybe the atmosphere there will change his mindset. So he took him to various holy places, and he saw that it was not working. This man was too focused on his material activities. He kept insisting, I need to go back to my factory in Mumbai. I need to see what's going on. So eventually the sadhu said, let me take him to Varanasi. Varanasi is the abode of Lord Shiva. And there is a special ghat called Manikarnika Ghat. And there it's said that whoever leaves their body at this holy place, then Lord Shiva comes to them and whispers into their ears the holy name of the Lord. And in that way, they leave their material bodies. So the sadhu took him to this place. And it was, of course, there were lots of people that were leaving their bodies. So there were lots of funeral pyres. And this man saw all of that. And he started crying. He started crying. So then the sadhu, he got very happy now because he thought, okay, now something is happening and he's going to change his mindset. So he asked him, why are you crying? And then this man says, all my life I've been dealing in cloth. I was a cloth merchant. Now I realize if I was dealing in wood, I would have made much more profit than cloth. So we see that these materialists, they are so focused on attaining or hoarding material stuff that there is no time for spiritual life. So, but we have said that Bahunam Janmanam Ante, after many, many births, you have attained this position. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. Perform your prescribed duty. Focus on your goal, that is attaining the spiritual world, and perform your prescribed duty, and then try and do as much devotional service as possible. So, I was told to finish at 8:15. It's 8:15 now. I just want to relate to you one more story, and we will close with that. This is on remembering your goals. Now, like I said, we've got material goals and we've got spiritual goals. And our ultimate spiritual goal is to go back home, back to Godhead, to dance with Krishna and to eat with Krishna. So there was once this lady, a Christian lady, who had been diagnosed of a terminal illness, and she was given just 2 weeks to live. So in those 2 weeks, she prepared her entire funeral. So she called her pastor and she directed him that these are the hymns that I want sung. This is the kind of sermon I want. I have already selected my dress that I want to wear for the funeral. Please make arrangements that, my body is dressed in that garment. And when you are lowering my coffin into the grave, I want you to place a fork in my right hand. So this pastor said to her, he said, I'm very intrigued. I can understand the hymns, I can understand the sermon, I can understand your garment, your dress that you want to wear, but please explain to me, what is the purpose of this fork that you want placed in your right hand? So she said, yes, I'll explain to you. She says, whenever we go to a gala dinner, you have your starters, you have your main course, and then you have your dessert afterwards. She says, when you have your main course, and the waiter comes to take the dishes away, the plates, when he comes to take the plates away, he will whisper to you, hold on to your fork. Right. So, in your mind, when you say hold on to your fork, you know that dessert is coming. So dessert could be an ice cream, a cake, or in Krishna consciousness, if you're really lucky, malva pudding. So in that way, you know that something nice is coming, something good, something tasty is coming your way. So in this way, when I'm telling you to place this fork in my right hand, I have lived my life according to the scriptures. And this fork represents me awaiting something good that is going to happen in my next life. So I am focusing on this fork because I know that I have lived my life. I am confident I have lived my life according to the scriptures, according to the way the Lord has directed, and He has given us a certain reward if we live our life according to the scriptures. So in the same way, if we focus on our goal and we perform our devotional service activities as described in the Nectar of Instruction, as described in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, then we can confidently hold our fork in our right hand at the time of death and pray that the Lord is going to award us this goal that we have, and that is to go back home, back to the spiritual world. So Hare Krishna, I will stop here. Are there any questions or comments that you have? Hare Krishna. Prabhu, is there anything you would like to add to the topic for today?
Thank you, Mataji. It was a wonderful class. I didn't hear that last story before about the fork. That was really nice. It's something similar to what Srila Sridhar Swami describes in his commentary to the famous prayer by Lord Brahma in the 10th canto, Jiveto Yamukti Pade Sadhaya Bhak, that if we simply remain alive in devotional service as devotees, tolerating the reactions to our past misdeeds, and serving Krishna with our heart, body and words, then the spiritual world becomes daya bhak, becomes our rightful claim. Like we inherit the spiritual world, just as Sridhar Swami says. Just as a young man, all he has to do to inherit the father's estate is to stay alive. That's all, just stay alive. So we too, we just stay alive in devotional service, and in due course by the blessings of Krishna and Prabhupada, we'll be in the spiritual world. Thank you.
I don't know if we'd like to have more kirtan. No? Just to end. We've got about 10 minutes. I'm not sure. What time does the program end? So Srila Prabhupada ki jai.